Welcome to the Blanco Wellness Podcast. Thank you for being here. Take a breath, settle in, and let's talk today about one of the hardest truths in human relationships and why understanding it is actually a form of freedom. At some point, almost everyone arrives at the same difficult recognition. It does not always arrive gently, and it does not always arrive once. It tends to need to be learned again and again in different relationships across different seasons of a life. The recognition is this: you cannot make someone love you. You cannot make someone stay. You cannot make someone see your value if they have decided, for whatever reason, not to look for it. And no amount of explaining yourself better, trying harder, being more patient, more available, more accommodating, more impressive, none of it can produce in another person a feeling that is not there. Most people know this in the abstract. What is harder is recognizing the ways it plays out in actual behavior, in the specific and very human patterns that emerge when we care about someone and are not receiving what we hoped for. The thinking that if I just explain myself more clearly, they will finally understand. The pattern of making yourself smaller, easier, less demanding, in the hope that the friction will reduce and something warmer will take its place. The quiet sacrifice of your own needs, again and again, in service of maintaining a connection that keeps asking more than it gives. These patterns feel, from the inside, like love. They feel like effort and devotion and the willingness to work for something that matters. But there is a point at which they become something else, a sustained attempt to earn something that was never going to arrive by that route. The Buddhist teaching on attachment is directly relevant here, and not in the way it is sometimes misread. It does not say that caring about people is the problem, or that love should come without investment. It says something more specific. Suffering tends to arise when we become attached to a particular outcome. When our well-being becomes conditional on another person making a specific choice. You can love someone genuinely and freely, holding that love without requiring it to produce a particular response. Or you can love someone while gripping the outcome, needing them to love you back in a specific way in order to feel okay. The first is love. The second is love mixed with something that tends to cause suffering for both people, a kind of emotional pressure that the other person can feel, and that tends to push away what it was hoping to secure. A Zen teacher was once asked by a student how to know his own worth. The teacher gave him a stone and told him to take it to the market and ask what people would pay for it, but not to sell it. Some people offered him almost nothing, a few small coins. He returned puzzled. The teacher then sent him to a jeweler. The jeweler turned the stone over carefully in his hands, recognized what it was, and offered a considerable sum. The student came back still puzzled. The stone hadn't changed between one place and the next. The teacher smiled. "No," he said, "only the person looking at it changed. The worth of the stone was never determined by the person who offered too little for it. It was simply unrecognized by someone who did not know what they were looking at." Many people spend significant portions of their lives in places, in relationships, in dynamics, in the company of people, where their value goes unrecognized. And then they make the mistake of treating that lack of recognition as evidence, of taking the low offer as the accurate price, of concluding that if this particular person cannot see what they have to offer, the fault must lie with what is being offered. The stone does not become less valuable because one person did not know what it was worth. You are not less than what you are, because someone specific failed to see it. The Taoists describe the quality of water as a model for how genuine connection moves. Water does not argue its way into a space. It does not force itself through a surface that has no opening. It flows where there is genuine welcome. finds the paths that are already available. And when a direction is blocked, it continues exploring without losing itself in the effort. There is enormous wisdom in this for how we relate to people. What flows naturally, without force, without the exhausting work of constant justification, tends to be what is genuinely there. What requires continuous pushing to maintain, what only exists as long as sufficient effort is applied to sustaining it, is telling you something worth listening to. This does not mean that relationships require no effort. Every meaningful connection involves genuine work, the ongoing willingness to show up and be honest and navigate difficulty together. The distinction worth drawing is between effort that builds something real between two people and effort that is essentially one person trying to create, through sheer will, a feeling in the other person that the other person does not naturally have. The first kind of effort deepens things. The second kind tends to deplete the person doing it, while changing nothing essential about the situation. There is a specific form of suffering worth naming that emerges from this pattern. The gradual loss of yourself that happens when you have been focused for a long time on what another person thinks of you. When the primary question in a relationship becomes, will they choose me? How can I make them see me? What do I need to be in order to be wanted? The person asking those questions tends to drift away from their own center. They become organized around the other person's perception rather than their own sense of themselves. And the further this drifts, the harder it becomes to even remember what they actually think and want and feel when the other person's opinion is not in the room. Self-respect, in this context, is not arrogance. It is the simple recognition that genuine connection is meant to flow in both directions, that a relationship in which one person is constantly pursuing and the other is consistently unavailable is not a relationship waiting to be unlocked with the right key. It is a dynamic that is telling you something clearly, if you are willing to hear it. The energy spent trying to open a door that is not opening for you is energy that could be directed toward the doors that are. As we close today, I want to leave you with a thought rather than a question. Your job in a relationship is not to make someone love you. It is to love honestly, to show up as genuinely yourself, and to allow the other person the freedom to respond as they will. Some people will meet that with something real, others will not because of your inadequacy, but because of their own direction, their own fears, their own particular timing. What is not within your control is their response. What is always within your reach is the relationship you have with yourself, the degree to which you choose yourself, know your own worth, and stop waiting for someone else's recognition to grant you the permission to believe in it. That recognition was always yours to give yourself. It was never theirs to withhold. Thank you for being here with me today. Until next time, be well.